My best friend tried to ruin my wedding. But I had the last laugh. 3 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, my best friend handed me a folder. Inside were screenshots, photos, and a message that said, "You deserve to know who you're really marrying." She thought she was destroying my wedding. What she didn't know was that I already knew everything. And by the time the music started, she would be the one exposed. Tina and I met in college. She was loud, magnetic, confident in a way I always wished I could be. I was quieter, the planner, the safe one. But somehow, we fit. She stood next to me through breakups, through job losses, through nights I cried on her couch saying, "Why does love never stay?" And when I met Daniel, she was the first person I called. "I think he's different," I told her. She laughed. "You always say that." But this time, I didn't. Daniel was steady, kind, intentional. The kind of man who prayed before meals, who remembered small details, who looked at me like I wasn't just enough. I was chosen. When he proposed under golden evening lights at the lakeside, Tina screamed louder than I did. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. But looking back now, I realized something. She wasn't smiling with her eyes. And that should have been my first warning. It started small. Little comments. "You're really going with that dress? Daniel seems intense. Are you sure you're ready for marriage?" At first, I laughed it off. That's just Tina, I told myself. But then she began inserting herself into everything. Changing vendor decisions. Accidentally forgetting to confirm appointments. Telling my bridesmaids stories about my past relationships that weren't hers to share. And every time I confronted her, "You're overthinking." So I stopped confronting her. I went quiet. And that's when she got bold. 3 hours before my wedding, she knocked on my bridal suite door. Her mascara was slightly smudged. Her breathing, dramatic. "I didn't want to do this today," she said. That's when she handed me the folder. Screenshots of Daniel texting another woman. Photos of him at a restaurant. A caption that read, "If you marry him, you're making the biggest mistake of your life." My hands were shaking. The room went silent. My bridesmaids stared at me like I was about to collapse. Tina stepped closer. "I couldn't let you embarrass yourself." But here's what she didn't know. I had seen those screenshots 2 weeks ago. Because Daniel had shown them to me himself. And the woman in those photos? She wasn't his secret. She was his cousin. And Tina was the one who cropped the messages. But I didn't say any of that. Not yet. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This was the same girl who held my hand at my lowest. Who knew every insecurity I had. And now she was weaponizing them. My chest felt tight. "Why would you wait until today?" I asked. She swallowed. "I thought you'd cancel." Cancel. Not protect. Not support. Cancel. That's when I understood. This wasn't about Daniel. It was about me moving forward. Without her. So I did something she never expected. I hugged her. "Thank you for telling me," I whispered. Her body relaxed. She thought she won. She left the room believing the ceremony was over. But instead of crying, I called Daniel. "It's time," I said. Because 2 weeks earlier, when he showed me the manipulated screenshots, we had decided something. We wouldn't confront her privately. We would let truth reveal itself publicly. The church filled slowly. Golden light streamed through stained glass windows. Guests whispered, unaware of the storm that almost happened. Tina walked in confidently, dressed in deep emerald green. She avoided my eyes. probably expecting an announcement. An apology. A cancellation. Instead, the music started. And I stepped into the aisle. Gasps filled the room. Daniel's eyes locked onto mine. And Tina's face? Confused. Halfway through the ceremony, the pastor paused and said something that wasn't in the program. "We believe marriage is built on truth," the pastor said. "And today, before these vows are exchanged, there is something that needs to be addressed." The room stiffened. Tina froze. Daniel stepped forward calmly. "There were rumors sent to my fiancé," he said clearly. "Manipulated images. Cropped messages." Murmurs spread. He turned slightly toward the crowd. "We investigated where they came from. And they were traced back to someone in this room." Silence. Thick. Heavy. Tina's breathing became visible. Daniel continued. "The full screenshots will be displayed. And on the projector screen behind us." The uncropped messages appeared. Including Tina's forwarded edits. Including her text saying, "She doesn't deserve him. If I can't have him, she won't either." The room shifted. Eyes turned. Whispers sharpened. Tina stood abruptly. "You set me up," she shouted. "No," I said. "You set yourself up." But what she said next almost shattered everything again. "You think he's innocent?" she snapped. "He confided in me." That part was true. Daniel had confided in her. About proposing. About ring shopping. About surprise plans. And she mistook intimacy for invitation. She thought his vulnerability meant access. But it never did. Daniel looked at her calmly. "I trusted you as her friend," he said. "Not as competition." The silence that followed? Devastating. Tina looked around for support. There was none. Her own parents sat frozen in the third row. And for the first time since I met her, she looked small. The pastor cleared his throat. "Do you wish to continue?" he asked. I looked at Daniel. He nodded. "Yes." Tina walked out before we exchanged vows. The doors closed behind her with a hollow echo. And just like that, the distraction left. The peace returned. We said our vows. Through tears. Through strength. Through truth. At the reception, guests approached me gently. "I had no idea," one whispered. "I'm so proud of you," another said. But what mattered most was the quiet moment later that night, when the music faded, and I stood outside under the stars in my wedding dress. Daniel wrapped his jacket around my shoulders. "You okay?" he asked. "I thought God's protection would look softer," I admitted. He smiled. "Sometimes protection looks like exposure." And he was right. Because had she succeeded, I would have walked into marriage doubting the wrong person. Instead, truth stripped away the one who didn't belong. A week later, I learned something else. Tina had been telling people for months that Daniel secretly liked her. That he confided too much. That he felt something. But once the screenshots went public, her credibility collapsed. People don't forget public truth. Especially when it's projected on a church wall. She lost more than a friendship that day. She lost the illusion she built around herself. And I gained clarity. I thought my wedding day would be about flowers, vows, and a white dress. But it became something better. It became proof that when someone digs a pit for you, sometimes God hands you the spotlight and lets them fall in it themselves.